again, and welcome to War Stories, behind the scenes tales from the front lines of the media. I am your host, Tom Curley. Welcome to the show. What is the show? Me and friends of mine, we talk about stuff that we did in show business. I was a TV director for the CBS television network for about 40 years, and I worked for ABC Radio, CBS FM radio, and all sorts of other things. But I couldn't do it without my partner here, Garry Armstrong, veteran TV Boston reporter. Garry, how are you today?
I'm fine, my Fuhrer. I'm fine. My head seems bigger than usual. I think it may have been because of what I had for dessert last night. It was very flavorful. It's a little sticky. It was a gummy. And the night just fled into morning. Do you think we should try that before one of these shows? I don't think
I
so.
we should. I don't think anybody would notice the difference. I mean, that's the great thing. I, I have to assume that people think that we're on gummies all the time. Oh, that is too much. So we're getting a lot of response to the revelation last week that the graphics that you see on the lower part of the screen that pop up throughout the show are actually being written
Clever,
by
very
an
clever.
artificial and yeah, well, they're being written by an artificial intelligence program who, quite frankly, I think is a bit of a smart ass. But I've already paid for the year's subscription, and I don't think I can cancel it, so I think I'm stuck with it. But so
They are
anyway,
wonderful. They are wonderful.
I yeah. I actually I downloaded a program, um, uh, a painting, an AI painting program last night, and I bought it. It was like $19 for the year. So I said, "What the hell?" And you can type in a description, right? And I
Right.
have this piece that I've done that I'm going to post one of these days. It's called "Back After These Words." Did it with a dear friend, Richard Fish, and it's about a superhero and an evil mastermind doing a radio program, and what they talk about during the commercial break. And I've been always wanting to animate it, so I've got this program, and it's the damnedest
Cool.
thing. I just typed in the one character's name, Captain Amazo. So I just typed Captain Amazo, and and this is what came up. And then I typed the villain's name is the Maestro of Evil, and I just typed Evil Mastermind, and this thing came up. And but what I noticed is no matter how many times I retyped it, I typed it as realistic, and as you can see, it's insanely gay. And so then I typed it, do it as a cartoon, and it come out insanely gay. Um, so it's very weird. I'm not sure what's up with this AI program, but it's a little scary. So anyway, on to business. What do you have for this week? You were telling me something about your time with Arthur Fiedler of the Boston Pops.
Yes, I was thinking about it actually last night when we were watching the annual Fourth of July concert done by the Boston Pops at the Esplanade, which is on the banks of the Charles River in Boston. Of course, Keith Lockhart had been doing it for a number of years. Now, I remember Lockhart when he looked like he was 1 in 20. He was a really young-looking concert leader, and now he's beginning to show that he's been working for a number of years. But before Keith Lockhart, there was the legendary Arthur Fiedler, who was the conductor. And a lot of people know that Fiedler had a little passion for going to dashing off to fires. And what he would do was he would hear a fire gong, and one of the local fire stations would dispatch a fire truck to wherever Fiedler was. In this case, it was on the banks of the Charles River. So they were doing what was the last or next to last warm up for the Fourth of July concert this year, this particular year. He was into the 1812 concert mover, of course, and right in the middle of it, as it gets bigger and bigger and more dramatic, we heard the fire gong, And we sort of looked at each other, we being the reporters and camera people. And sure enough, the fire truck pulled up. Fiedler drops his baton, runs and jumps on the fire truck. The back of it sounds like a TV movie, I know. We had a news car waiting by because we kept hoping every year this would happen. Finally happened. So I'm driving. The cameraman is leaning out the window and he's shooting. This is film. It was either a Bell and Howell or a Scoop black and white silent film thing. And Fiedler's waving at us, and he's humming the 1812. Unfortunately, it was a silent camera, so you couldn't hear that, but I think you could pretty much pick it up. And I was ad-libbing a news thing. We had a reel-to-reel tape recorder sitting next to me, and we were talking about Arthur Fiedler leading the fire that's turning into a general alarm fire. And in the background, you could see Fiedler doing this and that, and the firefighters are laughing. And in the far background, you could see the smoke billowing up. So it was a perfect news story. And Fiedler later on that evening at the beginning of the concert acknowledged the whole thing. And he said, "It's now etched in history thanks to my cohorts in crime." And he mentioned my name and the camera person's name, and the people are looking around and saying, "Who the hell are these people?" But that's the connection with Arthur Fiedler. And the 4th of July concert is always a terrific, terrific video view, especially with the fireworks at the end.
Wow, that sounds great. You know, it's funny now. I actually have a corollary and not a follow up, but something similar as far as fires. Um, an old friend of ours back from our WVHC days, a guy named Ricky Cohan, who I'm sure you remember. He was one of the alumni when I was there. I think he was more your when you were there. But anyway, he was a friend, and he was a volunteer fireman. And so we're riding around. Me and my roommate Eric and Ricky were riding around in Ricky's car, and I'm in the front seat, and Eric's in the back seat, and Ricky's driving. And you know, this is back in our college days, so I don't want to say that there's a possibility that we might have been stoned. No, we were absolutely very, very, very stoned. All right. So,
No.
so
Yeah.
you know, we weren't driving, and you know that's just the way it was. So we're sitting there, and all of a sudden Ricky's phone rings, and he looks down, and he just stomps on the gas, and he goes racing down the street to the firehouse, and he goes, "There's a fire, gotta go!" And he opens the door, he runs out, runs into the fire part, leaving the car in the middle of the street with the door open, the engine running. And Eric and I are just sitting there. Now, of course, the doors are open. The fire trucks are coming out. There's lights going on. There's people going, "Get out of the road, get out of the road." There's beep, 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 beep. And we're like, what the hell just happened?
I think we're parked, man.
So, you know, I remember, I think I frantically got in the driver's seat, and then where am I supposed to go? You know, am I supposed to just stay here? I don't really remember what happened after that. Hopefully, well, let's say none of us landed in jail, so I guess it was okay. So,
I would have thought you would have followed the fire engine.
yeah, well, yeah, no, yeah, didn't think about that. It was just
Right.
too much of a
Right.
shock. So that sort of leads into a story I've been meaning to tell. In that we're back in the old WVHC days. This is a true story, and I don't know if it could happen today, but this actually happened. I and a bunch of us, guys who all went on to be in the industry. Eric went on to be a CFO for ESPN, and Jimmy Cunningham, he went on to Chicago. He was, you know, in the video business. A guy named John DeBella became a very, very successful radio disc jockey in Philadelphia. And why I bring them all up is they were one of a bunch of crazies that helped me do a show called Fulton's Folly.
And now, WVHC presents Fulton's Folly.
It It was a 1-hour comedy show that we started in my senior year of college. And if you remember the radio station, you could only tape anything after midnight because we had no production studio.
Right.
We only had the air studio. Okay. So, and the station used to sign off at midnight. Kiddies, back in the day, stations used to sign off. And there would be just nothing but dead air all night. So we would have from midnight till 9 in the morning to record. So this was a sketch comedy show. And it was also a show where we did phone-ins. And it was the first time WVHC ever did phone-ins, okay? But mostly it was the sketch comedy that we were trying to do. And now the thing was, with the phone-ins, we had 2 phone lines. And if we were lucky, we would get enough phone calls to, get through the hour, because we would do maybe 2 or 3 segments. We'd have maybe 6 if we were lucky. So basically we went on for about 3 months and we ran out of material. In other words, we just ran out of material. So we were going to have to start playing reruns, which was, no big deal. So that we would have time, every night at midnight to start producing new material. So as we were signing off one night, about 15 shows in, 15 weeks in, I announced that next week we were going to be doing reruns. And the reason we were going to be doing reruns, and I to this day don't know why I said it. I said, it's because the management of this station are bigots and they have barred us from the studio. And this is blatant censorship. And we think it's horrible, but there's nothing we can do about it. Now, you have to understand that I was the station manager. I was the management, okay? So starting the next week, every week we would just constantly talk about how unfair it was that we were not allowed to produce. Well, I had a friend who was on the Hofstra University Student Council, and we talked about it, and he got wind of it. So he riled up the Student Council. Now, this was back in 1973, okay? Nixon, Vietnam, Kent State, okay? Rah, 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 no more war. So he arranged a meeting. The Student Council demanded a meeting with the management of WVHC, which was me and Jeff Krause, who was the general manager. So I put on my best suit. Okay, all right. I put on my only suit, and the two of us, and Eric, my co-producer, was there representing the show, and they came down and demanded to know why we were keeping Fulton's Folly from doing their show, and we just did total Nixons. We just went total Republican and went, one, it's none of your damn business. This is our station. We're the management, and we can do whatever we want. And quite frankly, we disapprove of this show. We think it stinks. And if you don't like it, you can basically shove it up your butt. Okay? Well, now they're...
Okay.
So
Wow.
to prove the censorship, we had made a commercial that we never aired. It was a practical joke on Jeffrey. Jeffrey was, as you remember, terrified of the FCC. God forbid that, anybody on the station ever said a bad word or we aired something that was inappropriate. I mean, because he didn't want to get fined by the FCC, because back then they actually used to take that stuff seriously. So we had written a commercial for a desensitizing cream called Down Boy. And the first line was the first line was, do you dribble before you shoot? Does it take you 15 seconds when it takes most men 15 minutes? Well, Down Boy is the thing for you. So, and we actually produced it to play for Jeffrey just to freak him out, thinking that we were actually going to air it. So Eric, we took the script, and Eric took a blue pencil, and he just randomly crossed out lines. And he went, look, this is proof. This commercial has been blue penciled, which used to be a thing back then for censorship.
Right.
Well, they left in a rage. The next day, the Hofstra Chronicle, the Hofstra newspaper, had a front banner headline: Fulton's Folly canceled due to censorship. Now, we could never get an article in the Chronicle for our lives. We tried. The Chronicle WVHC just didn't exist. So now, each week, we're starting to get more and more phone calls. We're starting to get letters. We're starting to get postcards. People that are upset, right? We held a rally.
It's amazing.
In the quad. We made up buttons that say "Save Fulton." We had balloons. About 100 people showed up. I mean, way more than we thought.
Wow.
So
Wow.
now this is rolling along. This has gone on for about 4 weeks. Now, all of a sudden, one day, we start getting calls from the local networks, from the local radio stations, the CBS affiliates, the AB, and they've caught on to this story, and they want to know what's going on. Well, the only people that knew that this was a joke was Jeff, me, and the chairman of the communications department, the coolest guy who thought the whole thing was hilarious. So we suddenly realized we have to pull the plug on this thing, and we got to pull it fast, because if it gets out that this is all just a joke, they're going to kill us. So we did a show, and it was called Our Last Show. And we had everybody that had ever been on Fulton's Folly crammed in Studio A, that little studio. And we brought in typewriters, and people were just making typewriter noises, and they were talking in the background. And we did it as a negotiation. Like, basically, the producers of Fulton's Folly were in negotiation with the management. And if we are showing on at 11 o'clock on Sunday night, and if there wasn't an agreement reached by midnight, we were over. We were canceled. And we were covering it like a negotiation. Dead serious. But it was so obviously a joke. We would do things like, has there news come in? Yes. Oh, my God. Breaking news. The negotiations have broken down.
In an effort to stall the meeting till midnight deadline, the program director is filibustering by reading the FCC Rules and Regulations, Section B, Volume 2, pages 4059 to 5088, dealing with station operations policy regarding and governing all those stations under a minimum power rating of no less than that 15 times annually.
Well, Chris, this is a bad development. What do you think?
I think we have a real filibuster going here, Jim.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more, Chris.
And then it would come back. The negotiations are back. Oh, no, the negotiations are stalled again.
It seems that the meeting is being held up again. Oh, no. It says here that the general manager's throat got so dry listening to the program director reading Volume B, Section 2, that he ordered out for coffee.
Looks bad. Any real specifics on the meeting's progress?
Well, yes, Chris. The program director and the general manager both ordered a light 2 sugars. The producer of Fulton's Folly ordered black 3 sugars and a prune Danish to go. And the station manager didn't order anything, saying he can't drink right after he wakes up.
Well, there's still hope.
Well, I don't know, Chris. Black 3 sugars, that doesn't look good at all. No, not good at all.
And it was obviously a joke. And so now we're reading all of the letters, which were, I mean, lots and lots of letters, and we're taking phone calls. Phones are ringing off the hook, and everybody's like, this is horrible. You know, you can't cancel this show. This is what I wait for on Sundays. One person calls in, a young woman. She goes, you're joking, right? And we go, no.
WVHC, Fulton's Folly.
Hi there.
Hi.
How you doing?
Well, not so good. We'll see what happens.
Aw, come on. It's just a big gimmick.
What?
Oh, see, it's just a big put on.
Any word from upstairs?
That's right. A put on. How could you say such a thing?
So we kept it up, and then like 1 minute before 12, we interrupted whatever skit we had on the air, pre-recorded skit, and announce proudly that Fulton's Folly is saved.
Here's a bulletin from Fulton's Folly News. We interrupt Sterling Bronson to bring you this special message. Fulton's Folly has been saved. We repeat, Fulton's Folly has been renewed. Complete details at the end of Sterling Bronson. This has been a special report from Fulton's Folly News. We now return our regularly scheduled program broadcast previously.
So, starting that 1 month when I started it, we were getting maybe, if we were lucky, 6, 7 calls a show. After that month, the phone would start ringing an hour before the show went on the air, and it would continue to ring an hour afterward. We literally increased our audience tenfold by doing absolutely nothing except taking away something that they never lost. Now, I don't know if we could get away with that today. It's just, but yeah, it's a true story. It actually happened, and I've always we could never really tell anybody for a long time. So yes, it actually happened.
That's a great story, and you know, Tom, it has a P.T. Barnum quality to it. It's just like the Samoan story that I shared a few shows back, and it proves that if you have a serious enough face in front, people will believe. They will absolutely believe.
Well, you know,
it. And I have to laugh that you didn't get the newspaper's attention, despite all the fine work you were doing, until you did this. Then they upped
until we
and
did this, yes.
But you were more than ready
this,
for your network gig at this point with that ability.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you know, here's the weird thing about that. The reason that I created Fulton's Folly was that the year before my junior year of college, I went to work for the ABC radio network, same place you worked, all right? And I realized at the end of my vacation relief that this is probably what I was going to do for a living, working in network radio or television. And then I also realized that it would always be news or something that I had no control of. I'd be a technician.
Right.
But I realized that when I went back for my senior year of college, I was the station manager, and I realized that this was the last chance I was ever going to have to be completely in charge of something creative that I wanted to do. And I would have no limitations, and I would have, you know, the ability to do it. So I figured I might as well, you know, go out with a bang. So it was oddly enough that my network experience that made me do it, because a lot of it was just me, you know, a lot of our stuff was me goofing on the network. Furthermore, Jeffrey and I created a show later. Matter of fact, we hawk it at the end of every show called a half-hour radio show, which was mostly me goofing on CBS networks. CBS, ABC, could have been any of them. And I always thought it was they were in jokes, you know, and that nobody would get it. Well, the show was very popular. It was syndicated nationally, and apparently people did get the joke. But the audience for that show were so rabid. It turns out most of them were from a local high school, but they were so crazy that we did a commercial. We did a joke. John DeBella did a joke, and it was an ad lib. It was a parody of radio station competitions, games, you know, contests. And it was called I Want to Be There.
For the past 28 weeks, you've been listening to Fulton's Folly, the fabulously funny radio program seen here on WVHC. Seeing that this season is coming to a close, we are giving 2 lucky people the big chance to see Fulton's Folly's last show. Now, all you have to do is fill in a postcard with as many words as possible. 2 cards will be picked at random by our panel of judge. On the evening of our final show, the winners will be picked up in chauffeur-driven Volkswagens and taken to our studios. We are using the same rules used in every other contest, so originality counts. Send your postcards to I Want to Be There, care of WVHC, Hofstra University, Hempstead, New York, 11550.
And that was it. It was just a knockoff, just something to throw in there. Well,
Right.
we started to get 5x7 postcards with, all right, one of them had 5,000 words written in handwritten.
Wow.
And we had a half a dozen of those. And now we're going, oh my God, I feel so bad. These kids took it seriously. And so we ended up, me and Jimmy, we ended up going, and we both owned Volkswagens, which is why we made the joke. We had to go out and make box lunches. We picked them up from their homes. We took them down to the studio, and they sat in the back of the studio while we recorded our last show. We had to do just crazy, crazy stuff like that. Before I forget, sorry, before we're almost out of time, and I should have done this earlier, but we have a new commercial from our sponsor, the Long John Sump Pump and Bassinet Society. I know.
We're
As
big.
you recall, we're getting big. Yeah. Well, as you recall, I don't know if it was last week, the week before, we did Zamfir, master of the pan flute. Very, very popular guy in the 70s and the 80s. Well, it turns out, he's done many, many albums, and actually this is personally my favorite one.
You've thrilled to his haunting interpretations of the classics. You've loved his renditions of the heavy metal masters. And now you can enjoy Zamfir, master of the pan flute, as he brings you his newest collection. Zamfir plays your favorite TV theme songs. Yes, Staticals, a division of the Long John Sump Pump and Bassinet Society, brings you Zamfir, master of the pan flute, as he plays the television classics you've come to know and love. You'll hear all your favorites, like The Ballad of Gilligan's Island, Star Trek, and, of course, the famous theme to Mr. Ed. Remember, that's Zamfir, master of the pan flute, playing your TV favorites. And here's your announcer to tell you how to order.
Write out a check, put it in an envelope, mail it to us. Operators are standing up.
Are the operators really standing by?
Yes, the operators are standing up. The cheap bastards won't give them any chairs.
Funny.
Well, we had and so Gary, now we've got the next story that we're going to get to, but we're not going to get to it because we did it again. We've wasted another half hour.
Well,
we will get to it next week.
We can whet their appite. Next week we may have William Holden and Garry Merrill. Maybe, but we won't have Some Enchanted Evening.
We won't have. You know when you say that. You know when you say that, the AI program's going to play that goddamn clip.
Some Enchanted Evening.
Some Enchanted Evening.
All right, quickly on to the plugs. Serendipity Seeking Intelligent Life on Earth, Marilyn's blog that we all love. All the episodes of Media Wars are on that. Voicescapes Audio Theater, the best in audio theater production, and of course a half-hour radio show. You really got to listen to it now. And of course we can't not mention Get Off My Lawn, my co-podcast with me, where we talk about life, the universe, and I don't know, whatever's in the teleprompter. Well, anyway, that's it for this time. See you next week. Goodbye.